Well, many blessings, beautiful ones. I hope that you guys are doing really well. I'm so excited to be here with you today, and I know that I have to come back to continue the activations of the upper chakras, but I couldn't miss this wonderful opportunity. I had with me one of my beloveds, Miriam Silver, known as Mimi, in her beautiful podcast, Rev-Up and Awaken. Miriam, I cannot tell you how happy I am to have you here, and I really want to take this opportunity to share with the viewers so many different things, especially, of course, what's happening in this new creation, the philosophies that you and I have discussed. So how are you? And
just great, picking up all the energy of this state of Florida. It's amazing to be here, and it feels so much different from the New York area, especially now with everything going on. And it's just much more of a healing atmosphere. You know, and you feel so much freer, and it's just an amazing environment to be in. You know?
And I want to share with the viewers, of course, that we are in Florida, and I'd like to ask you, what gravitated you to come here in the middle of this pandemic, in the middle of this new creation, because it's really part of what we want to just share with you today as we keep embarking in this new journey of what is this new creation, what is this new paradigm, how do we navigate through this new experience, and some of the steps that we may encounter along the way, like the triggers that are going to say to us that it's time, or enter into, a doorway into the new paradigm, right?
Exactly. I felt in the past few years that I felt like a change was coming. And then when the pandemic came along, I said, okay, I feel like there's something's happening. I understood that, we were going through an ascension process, and with it, change needed to occur, within as well as without. And whatever you change within is going to manifest outside as well. And as of the end of December, I started to feel like, all right, I needed to change my life, because I felt stunted where I was, and I felt that I needed to make a detour somewhere, or otherwise I'd stay on the same path that I've always been on, and I want to expand in my life. So something was compelling me to come out to Florida, especially after you came here, and I felt like, there's something about Florida that's just seemed to be drawing me. I mean, I never would have thought of coming to Florida, but, outside of having...
Neither did I.
outside of having the warm weather, and I'm tired of cold weather as it is in New York after all these years. But there was just the feeling that I'm getting from the world right now is that we are going to feel compelled to change things in our life. And it may be changing our work, it may be changing spouses, it may be changing where we live. Because...
Or all of the above,
right? All of the above. And it's
dramatic makeup.
Yes.
Just completely recreating
and
not only the self, but the foundation.
Yeah, and that's what I was feeling all this past year. I went through a lot the past few years, and it seems like I was working my way up spiritually to restore and to recreate who I am and what I want to do in my life. And I felt like I needed to have something that was unlike what I've done in the past, that totally is going to be taking me out of my comfort zone, because doing this is certainly going to be is a bit uncomfortable, but when you're doing things like that, it's because you're used to what you've gone through, you're used to the security of it, even if it's something that you don't like, you know what to expect from it. And so I felt somehow compelled to come in this direction, to check out Florida, to feel what it was like here. And I guess I'm looking for a healthy environment. I'm looking for something that helps me get more in touch with my spiritual connections and to expand myself more. I'm constantly trying new things to try to expand my consciousness. And I just felt, I felt the energy back in New York is just so heavy. And it feels like you don't have the freedom to expand yourself. You don't have the freedom to look outside of the box.
I love what you're saying about, out of your comfort zone, because bringing it into the new creation, and really, that's what we really want to share right with the audience, with the viewers, is there's no mistake about it. Like this new paradigm is called new because it is new. And in many ways, we're going to find ourselves, leaving behind many things that seemed familiar, that were comfortable. You said comfortable, and it may not necessarily be everything, because if something is resonating and in harmony in your life, right, then if it's not broken, then why fix it, right? But it is those areas, work, environment, careers, relationships, of course, you mentioned, where if it's met its purpose, and it's no longer bringing fulfillment, and that's a key word, fulfillment, joy, peace, purpose, then those are the areas that are going to be, flashing in your forefront and address. Right.
And I feel that a lot of people, even after once they feel that the pandemic is over, they're expecting to go back to a normalcy. But really, if you really think about it, what part of those lives that we had would one want to go back to? You want to go beyond that. You don't want to go on the same path. And I always felt that, why would I want to go back to what I had? I want to do more. I want to do better. I want to expand my life,
That's a great statement there too. And of course, the sharing always says, we take what resonates, we leave what doesn't. This is an inspiration to share that, either it speaks to you or it doesn't. But I've got to tell you something. I don't think that there is any opportunity to return. This is the point of no return.
Exactly.
And why? Again, because we are in a new paradigm, and if we're experiencing the old, it is in a very fragmented space, which is part of an old paradigm, which is not going to carry very much support, even though there's many people still vibrating in that place. And so, of course, that energy is sort of keeping that place, that structure in place, right? But I don't think that there's a return into something that doesn't really exist or is not positioned to exist anymore, which is old. I mean, right? But I know you have some questions because you have an audience in Rev-Up. And we want to also talk a little bit about, not a little, we want to talk a lot about the beloved Thoth and the emerald green tablet and how this is all playing into this new creation, right? And so tell me.
Well, I know in one of our last shows you were talking about what brought you here. It had to do with Atlantis and their purpose right now. It seems like they have a responsibility that is having them come back to sort of resolve what occurred hundreds and hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, several 100,000 years ago, that created the destruction of the Atlantean civilization. And I don't think people realize that a lot of the historical events, if something still needs to be learned and there's a karmatic responsibility, the event has to occur again so that it can finally resolve itself.
Absolutely.
And I thought it would be fascinating to talk about, what does that mean? Like, why would a civilization have that responsibility? I mean, we always believe that the individual has that responsibility karmatically, but as well as the civilization, being the individual is usually obviously a part of it, but, you know, why would they have to go through that? And that's exactly what we are going through right now.
And it's all very fascinating, right?
Yeah.
And we'd have to go back to who the Atlanteans really were, you know, as far as a creation, right? They were the favorites. They were created with the potential to become all that they became: superior, multidimensional. Yes. They had multidimensional abilities. You know, they could, you know, morph, transport themselves at will. They were powerhouses, and we knew that. And, you know, the stories may go in many different directions. Again, I state that, you know, we need to stay with what resonates because there's so many variations of teachings, of stories. You know, we hear Atlanteans and we hear myth, exactly. Right? Yeah. And so I could only share that the insight that I've received over the years of the decades of doing this work have come directly from Thoth in order to teach, right? And now at this point, being asked to share that at a very highest, a much bigger scale because of the timeline and where we're at. But so going back, you know, this was a perfect creation. And they were the perfect representation, say, of the envisioned humanity, of what humanity was set to become. And so what happens, you know, well, some say that they became arrogant, right? Some say that they were trying to take over other civilizations, and that did happen. But this is where it becomes like critically important to this timeline. Was it them, or was it that there was an infiltration?
Exactly.
Right? That there was an infiltration. And this is where the beloved Thoth and the Emerald Green tablets come into crucial play.
And explain who Thoth was, too, so in case people don't know.
Thoth was a deity. He was the director, I call, or he wants to be known, or has wanted to be known through the many years of our dialogue as the director of this creation meaning Earth, but also of Atlantis. A beautiful scribe, of course, the deity of wisdom, he is known. And what's so important about the beloved Thoth is that, and that many may or may not know, is that he has had a multitude of reincarnations throughout history, again and again and again, to be a contributor into the evolution of the world.
You have to bring light to humanity.
Light, knowledge, wisdom, to open doorways, opportunities. You know, we just, you know, took a snapshot of some of his lifetimes, you know, George Washington being a crucial one at this timeline, right? But Solomon, King Arthur, you know, Merlin.
And I believe he was also Quetzalcoatl.
I could never pronounce it. I always say Quetzalcoatl. I know that's not right.
It's something like that.
Right, Quetzalcoatl. But absolutely. And why? You know, why did he come back so many times? And again, it's because he desperately, he had an incredible mission on his shoulders, on his karmatic soul, to see this creation into fruition. And so let's go back to that. And of course, we know that Thoth is the Atlantean, right? In the Emerald Tablets. And this is the question that, you know, like when he told me this, blew me away, like, or asked me this, is why would I have written the Emerald Tablets? You know, was it to explain a history, or was it to leave a roadmap for the history that is being created now?
Right.
You get that?
Exactly.
And the truth of the matter is that it's both. And this is why, again, there's so much, right? But there's almost like a parallel in what existed and what is being created, and what brings that together like a delicious Oreo cookie, like the inside, right, is that it's going to be different. That the resolution, as you spoke earlier about, well, we come back for karmatic to resolve it, to bring it to the highest level. That's the delicious inside of this Oreo cookie. Atlantis in the past, the fall of Atlantis because of infiltration. That word is very familiar in our timeline right now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And yet it is not going to succeed. It's not going to succeed because this is the opportunity. And the opportunity is that the new Atlantis is rising in the new humanity, who we are in the new creation.
And that's all there is, hope.
Yeah, right. And so, right?
Yes.
Okay. So of course, that's a lot. That's a lot to say in in one sentence or one. But that is indeed what is occurring here right now.
Yes, absolutely. And so, what can you say? Does that mean for the people of now? Like, what role do they play in it? I mean, I'm sure people listening would like to know. Okay, so what does that mean to them? Like,
exactly. Yes. Right. And it does mean a lot because this whole experience, whether we look at the Atlantean civilization, any civilization for that matter, we could look at Lemurians, Octorians, it is not ever, has never been, will never be about one person, right? It's about the collective evolution, right? And so collectively, we all signed up to participate in this, right? Individually, we owe it to our soul to be able to evolve beyond. That's the makeup of the soul. The soul is perfect, unlimited, undefined potential. And so what we have to gain from this is the evolution of the soul to expand beyond the limited consciousness of the past, of the old paradigm. Are we ready to finally awaken, to begin to see the potential of our incredible makeup?
Yes.
To be multidimensional, to be healthy, because we're light bodies, to be able to travel to other dimensions, to telepathically communicate, like, at will. These are all...
Do you see, in terms of the new paradigm, which we've already stepped into, but unfortunately we still have to wait for the people of this world all to be on the same page, because most people are already there and they know they're there, but a lot of people still feel like they're in the past or it's still. What do you think that they need to do in order to get themselves to recognize that they are on that path to the next new paradigm? So, because a lot of people are still, they don't see it. They just see all the destruction that's going on. They see the insecurity of what's happening, the health with their families, with their their jobs, the economic situation. They're still seeing the old stuff, the mirages of the old stuff. They're still under the program. They're still in the system. So, what does one do in order to get them on the same page as others who are already experiencing that other paradigm?
Wow, there is so much that could be said to that, Miriam, and it sort of kind of reminds me of about a year ago or so, I wrote a sequel to The Goddess Mother Speaks.
Right.
And the sequel was The Dialogue Continues, and why I go there is because in that book, the Mother Divine aspect speaks about, this yearning that was going to start rising, right? As a symbolism or as a signal, if you may, that it was time to move on. People were going to be gravitated to move to other places, like pull themselves out of the grid, out of the matrix, and we were going to start going back to simplicity, to simplicity. And so when I hear you ask, like, you know, how do we get there? One way, of course, is to disengage, of course, right? Pull ourselves out from the grid, from the program, you know, and it's easier said than done, you know, like when we're in the grips of that, as we are, right?
You fall into the pit and you keep on going the same way.
How do we pull ourselves out? And beloveds, what I have to say is, if we of ourselves don't have an example around us, or we just find ourselves uninspired because of our circumstances, then we've got to look at an example, you know, and that's why we're here. That's why I'm here, to say, like, this new paradigm does truly exist. It is living, it is vibrating, it is waiting for others to step into this new space. It is waiting to be cultivated. It is waiting to be developed, you know. And so if we don't find ourselves there, then let us look for an example, and let those who are holding the field of the new paradigm to be, you know, again, I've mentioned this in past videos, you know, Ralph Smart happens to be an amazing, I'm a big fan. Why? Because he is in the new paradigm. And he's vibrating, he's literally living there, and also energetically living there, and he's also he's, you know, like televising from there, his shows, you know what I mean? And so he's actually consciously bringing that vibration from where he is. And I'm hoping to do the same from right here, from the portal of Atlantis. So that's one way. We need to, you know, arm ourselves. We don't want to hear it, you know, but disengaging from negativity, you know, plugging yourself out of anything that's feeding yourself, you know, feeding that. And plug yourself in to anything and everything that's going to uplift you. And, you know, enough to be able to give you clearance to now start being able to enter into the new paradigm. There are strict rules into the new paradigm. And, you know, we don't want to hear that, but you cannot bring shit into the new paradigm. And shit meaning, you know, like negativity, you know, like low vibrational thinking, low vibrational behavior, separation, fear, anger, resentment. Not that we're going to be perfect, but we are building ourselves to become more luminous. And so being luminous is not going to, by nature being luminous, we're not going to be gravitated to be low vibrational. You follow?
Right. And you tend to be sensitive at that point when you're on a higher vibrational level. You're sensitive to anything that comes on a lower negative vibration. I know I'm the same way. I feel people's vibrations. I can sense their emotions just by being around them. And the people who pull you down and sort of suck your energy out, those are the people you got to avoid. You can't, because they're not going to allow you to expand yourself into a higher vibration level. You know.
And you know, when we hear that, that's a challenge, can be a challenge, again, co-workers, employers, you know, right?
I know.
Spouses, children, parents, it could be, you know, these could be a very dynamic relationships where we just can't easily say.
I know,
right?
I know, it's not always going to be easy.
Right. We have to remember what's at stake. And what's at stake is our sanity, our freedom, and our ability to ascend to a higher frequency. That's not just, you know, you know, loose change. You know what I mean? Like that's a fortune. When we think about value, that's a fortune, because which soul doesn't want to live in that place of fulfillment, right? Of being free, of being, you know, at peace. And that is a promise of the new paradigm. You know, we think back, the age of Aquarius, they've told us, you know, we've had many sages, saints, and avatars speak about the Aquarius time, right? 1,000 years of peace, right? What is that? it is the new paradigm. And we know we just entered, right, the Aquarius age on December 21st. And so it is here, beloveds, it is here, it is yours for the taking, but there are some rules, that we need to. So going into a deep cleansing, purification process, working with healers, light workers, gurus that can help you through that pathway. If you feel you have debris that you haven't, if you're ready to let that go, to enter into that new space, or whatever you need to do.
Right. Yeah, because we have to, everybody has traumas, no matter what. From any part of their lives. Anybody says they don't, they obviously haven't been living a human life, because this world is full of those types of events in our lives, and every time we have a trauma, it brings us down to a lower vibrational level. And a lot of times we don't let go of it, so it gets trapped inside of us, and that's what leads us down a certain path. So how can people get rid of those traumas so that they can lighten themselves and lead a better life, and go somewhere different?
I think the easiest way, of course, is working with someone if you don't have the clarity, because sometimes we become stagnant, right? Like stuck in the justification of a pain, by the way. And I think you and I were talking about a few days ago something about how pain can become comfortable even though we're very uncomfortable. It's like your favorite blouse, your favorite sneakers, right? They're worn and torn, but we keep wearing them. And they're comfortable, and pain can become very comfortable even though it's very uncomfortable for the soul evolution, for the soul growth and healing. But if I could keep blaming you or being a victim because you did this to me, then I don't have to assume any more responsibility. You see that? I could just stay stuck there. And so recognizing the key, so key is healing, releasing, working on forgiveness, but also recognizing that every single instance of experience has an opportunity for growth, including especially the hardships, and we don't want to hear that, because why would the soul choose to hurt? Because it knew it had an opportunity to grow. Plain and simple. Either we recognize that and we keep ascending, check, forgive, grow, let go, grow, or I'm stuck and I'm not going to grow anymore because I'm stuck, key to moving along in the ascension process. And we have not done that work, and we're still justifying, then we may find ourselves very lost.
And that can go on for several lifetimes, until you come to a point in one of those lifetimes where you say that, or one of your missions is to get rid of all those traumas from every one of those lifetimes. Absolutely,
and we go back to what you asked me earlier then, why would the Atlanteans, so why are the Atlanteans now? Why are they playing such a pivotal role? And of course, they're not the only ones, There's a collective contribution here. We have beautiful indigo rainbow children, crystal children in the forefront. We have Palladians, being an example, Turians still being teachers, Syrians on the floor, guardians. So we have a lot of interplay here, but, and however, the Atlanteans are being the mirror of redemption. And in that mirror of redemption, they're offering humanity as a collective the opportunity for redemption too, you see?
Right.
And when we hear the word redemption, it's not about somebody or something has to forgive you. That's not what we're talking about. It is the opportunity, then bringing karma back, right? The opportunity to redo something, to complete it.
Yes.
On a very successful, higher level, so that now you can move on to another grade, right? So we're given that opportunity. The Atlanteans are being the mirror for that. And then being the biggest ones in that they were the original humanity that were meant to bring this consciousness to another level of ascension, but because they were infiltrated, they could not achieve that.
Right.
And the decision was for them to be taken down, right? But don't you think for a minute that that's where it ended, and that's what this story is about, and this is what this book is about, and this is what the thought is about, and this is what we're about, is don't think that the story ended there. We are the new Atlantis, and yes, the Atlantis energy is submerging and rising energetically, but it's for us to house because we are those children. Mm-hmm. You see, like we reincarnated. And we said, like, fuck this. We are going to finish this ascension. And we are. Right? Sorry about that. But every once in a while I get hot and heated. And so, yes, so we're going to finish it. And we are on that pathway. And it's delicious.
And how was the infiltration taking place? Because I know that there were, like, it seemed like there was like two factions at one point, and I don't know exactly where in the timeline because they were around for hundreds of thousands of years. Mm-hmm. But I know they had the Law of One, as Edgar Casey calls them, where they were very much connected to the God source, and they were trying to hold that source, that strong source, as they were in the on this plane. But then you also had the other faction, which Edgar Casey called the Sons of Belial. That was his term for them. And they seemed to be the ones who were instigating and doing things that were destructive to nature and to each other. And I feel that was their negative energy probably pulled everyone down.
Absolutely, absolutely. They took it to a place where they were compromising other civilizations, where they were trying to create dominance in the galactic field, and breaking the galactic laws. But you know why? It's almost like humanity right now. We know that there are lower vibrational forces at play at this current time in this timeline, and we're all paying for it in a roundabout way. Yes. We're all under the umbrella of consequence
because we're all affected by it,
right? And so it was no different when this sect from the Atlanteans started to go in a different direction. Consequently, all of Atlantis paid the price. But this is again like what's important here is redemption, and the piece that why did Thoth create the emerald tablets? Was it to leave a historical account? You need to read, if you have read it, wonderful. You need to read it. I would suggest that you read it again and again and again and again, because this scribe is written in parables. So only when an initiate is truly ready, it's almost like a trigger for it to then open up the doorways of consciousness and of understanding, of the wisdom, and also to bring those lives into play. There's many facets to this. But did he write it for then, or did he write it for now? And if you start to really deeply, with an open body, like ascended body, start to read this, you recognize that it was written for now as well. And this is again where this mirror is taking place, because we have infiltration around us.
Yes.
Because there is a part of the human consciousness that decided to go that way. Yes. In the way of dominance, of control.
It's repeating the past.
Well, it is repeating the past, and yet it's not going to repeat itself. This is an opportunity for us to redeem by by making another choice.
Exactly.
Right?
It triggered us to have to decide what we wanted to do. And a lot of people don't realize it because they're still sort of, they're so immersed in what they see, especially on TV and what's going on in their lives and everything because of everything that's been going on. But they're not realizing that's an outer manifestation of what is occurring due to the fact that that world is breaking down and it's going to be replaced by a better world.
Absolutely, Miriam, and it has broken down.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time before we, and that's not to say, everything that we experience, God bless, or God is blessed, is what needs to happen. So there's no mistakes, there's nothing run amok wrong, like wrong meaning that something has gone wrong. All of this has to occur. We need to go through the eye of the needle, so to speak. And yet all at once, just as important, if not more, is that we recognize that there's a new paradigm. Like, do not allow yourselves to become be in the abyss of what is coming to an end, of what's, being exposed to complete, but more so look for the new paradigm. And we do that through stepping in to knowing that there's newness, that there is a calling somewhere. That, you're here, right? You were born out here.
Yeah.
I was born out here, And by the way, just want to add that because we're sort of kind of running out of time for now, right? We could sit here for hours.
I know.
Right? Maybe do another one. But why Florida? It's not just Florida. There's many parts around the world. But, Bimini, which is the island where Edgar Casey talks about, centralized between Florida and the Bahamas, is where the Atlantis energy was. This was an apex center. There was an original place out in the South Atlantic. So the confusion of that, I just wanted to say that there was more than one apex, if you may. And part of the reason why it was moved was because there was infiltration. You see? And so there is a very big pull into this area. For those who are called, do we need to be in this area to benefit from that energy? No. Some of us will be called to be holders and to start anchoring this energy. So if you have a calling, of course, then I would invite you to follow that calling, right?
Right.
We could go on and on forever. Yes, Miriam?
Yes.
Of course, we will, I'm sure, revisit this again and again. But I can't tell you what a joy it is not only to have you here at the Atlantis portal, but to have you exchange with the viewers and the listeners. I hope that you can share this in your podcast.
Yes.
Again, you can find Miriam, known as Mimi, in Rev-Up and Awaken. We will put the link to her podcast in the descriptions for you to explore so many beautiful subjects, current, historical, and prophetic, of course, to our timeline. Yes?
Yes.
Anything that you want to add?
We're running out of time, so I don't want to embark on something that's we're gonna have to open up another can of worms. So I don't know. Where else we can
we'll
go?
have to do this again.
Yeah, I mean,
yes?
that's what we need. We need to have
Another segment.
another hour after that.
Yes. Beautiful. So, of course, we leave you with, we hope that we've been able to spark you, to ignite you in some way, to be able to take this all in and see if this speaks to you in some way. We're going to keep showing up over and over again. I'll always be here available to ignite you and to share this beautiful Atlantic energy. You know where to find me, BlancaBeyar.com. If you need to ask a question, have any comments, want to work individually, and that's it, right?
Yes.
We will show up here again. Thank you so much, Miriam, for being here. Of course, to you beautiful souls, always leave you with my love, with my light, and with my peace. You know how much I love you, love you, love you. I'll see you really soon. Thank you so much for
You're
being
welcome.
here.